Okay, so yeah, what I'd like to do is just show you guys quickly. There's another site. So I was talking about Gumroad, CubeBrush. There's another site called highend3d.com. I'm logged in right now with my profile. There's lots of cool stuff in here. There's free tutorials. There's also free files, free scripts and plugins. So I've actually kind of collected a bunch that I've used over the last year and a half, I guess, of working in Maya. So one of them I just want to talk to you guys a bit about. It's called Circulate. So I'll sort of show you the basic setup here. If you go to Documents on your computer, so this is whether you're logged in here or at home, you'll find a Maya folder, right? Inside of that, you'll see the version number that you're working in. So we've got two versions, right? 2016 and a half and 17. I'll be working in 17. And we basically got a scripts folder. So a lot of these free scripts that I use, they're basically called Mel Scripts. And you can search, if we go into free files, go to Maya, and then categories, scripts/plugins. So yeah, we can kind of check this and do a search for scripts, basically. There's lots of cool stuff that you can check out. So let me go back to this folder. So I've actually installed a few. If you notice in the labs, we actually have AB Autorigger. I've added this thing called the Circulator Mel script. So yeah, I've got the Circulator script. I'll show you what that does in a minute. But basically, I've just dragged this script in from a download. I go into download. So there's the Circulator script, and a lot of times these things may come with a little like icon essentially. So you can set up a custom button, and the icons will typically go into the main version number folder under Preferences and then Icons. Okay, so I've loaded that in there. If I go to Maya, by the way, if Maya is open when you copy these scripts in, it will not launch them unless you close Maya and reopen it. So this script is very, very useful. So let's say I've got a little sphere here, and I want to make a circular cut. That can be a little bit tricky inside of Maya. So let's say we go into an area like this. Maybe I'll make that a little bit bigger. I'll delete that. So if I double-click the open edge, I can fairly easily turn this into a circular shape. So I'm going to run the script. There's a couple ways to do this. You can go into the bottom right corner of the script editor and launch that. Usually what you have to do is you have to take the name of the script, so whatever that name is, minus the .mel. You punch that into your little script window at the bottom here, and then put a semicolon at the end. And if you hit play, that basically launches the script that's in the window. Okay. So that is the circle maker script. So with that selected, if I just simply hit average, it will try to make a circle. In this case, you see it's a little twisted, so I could try to maybe reverse this and hit average. And that works pretty decently, right? So again, this is a fairly useful script. I may need to rotate this guy. Let me just take a look at this. I'll turn off the surface constraint. So I may need to sort of twist this back into position, maybe scale it down a touch. But I wouldn't be able to do that by hand, right? And trying to align that with booleans and stuff, it can get really messy. This makes things a lot easier. And let me just go back to edge mode. So I really like that Circulate script. It's really useful. Take this. This is kind of my example from yesterday, so I'm going to let's do this. Merge to center, and we've got a Death Star. Yeah. So that works really, really nicely. Okay. To like a plane. It's really great. So a lot of times I find like 4 edges is really good, especially if you're going to be smoothing. So let's say I take this, do an average. Again, it's kind of flipped backwards. So I'm going to undo this, turn off reverse, hit average, and that looks pretty good. So I'll take that opening and then just simply go to extrude, I'm going to reset this so it's aligned to the actual world Z, just in case it gives me something distorted. And if I hit smooth, preview, right, get a nice kind of cylindrical extrusion. And if I go around these edges, maybe add a connect. This is one way to sharpen some of your mesh, is to bring that down. So let me just hit 1 so I can show you what's going on there. There we go. So these are really kind of great tools for editing something, especially when you want to kind of transition from something that's maybe a complex curved surface and have a circular cut-in or extrusion. This happens a lot in mechanical parts because there's areas where nuts and bolts go, right? If you think about like a game controller, the backside of a game controller has tons of openings for screws and stuff, right? So having circular cuts, really, really useful. And I've got a bunch of tools that I've messed around with in Maya in terms of those scripts. So maybe I can show you one more example of a script. Yeah, I've downloaded, oh, where is it? Circulator. Let's see. Yeah, for some reason it's not in there, but I'll go back to yeah, the High-End 3D website. I'll go to, I've got favorites as well, so usually like I'll test stuff out. Do try to be careful. One thing I recommend if you're looking for scripts to help you out of a jam or something, or to maybe speed up your work, generally a good idea to sort of check the, when it was last made, when it was last modified, check the compatibility, right? I find to be safe with certain scripts, you want them to be like 2017, 2016 compatible or newer. In this case, yeah, let me just save the link as, oh yeah, this is a Python script. So this is another kind of script. So Maya kind of has two languages, scripting languages that it can deal with. There's Python, and then there's Mel Scripts. So Mel Script is kind of the language that runs behind the scenes inside Maya. Python is kind of an extra add-on script that allows it to communicate with a lot of other software and do a lot of crazy stuff. So typically with Python scripts, there will be a different set of instructions, so it's important to kind of read that set of instructions to figure out how to run this thing. So let me just go into 2017. Not sure where my Python scripts are, so I'll have to do a little bit of hunting for that. All right, so I'm going to I've located the Python path. I believe it's the one that it's asking for directly inside of the main Maya folder. We'll give this a shot, One of the things, I do like these. I use these a lot in 3D Max. There's this thing called the Transform Randomizer. There's a few variations of this script. So I think there's, there's this free FX Transform Randomizer, and I believe there's another one or two out there as well. There's like a duplicator that kind of does something similar. So what's great about it is it'll kind of clone the object, and then it'll like offset them ever so slightly or very, very erratically, depending on what you're after. So let me just see. I'll go back to the script window. And if you notice, if I zoom in a bit, there's the Mel or Python window. So I'm going to go back to that website. There was instructions here for that. So I'm going to try to import this thing. Okay, run the script by typing in the Python tab of the script editor, or make a shelf button containing this. So let's try this out. Hopefully this will run. Hit play. There we go. So it launches the script, right? Pretty sweet. So let me just expand this window a little bit. So what's great about this is, like I said, if I've got, let me just clone one of these objects. Go to Edit. Edit, Duplicate Special, Instance. Actually, maybe I'll make these copies. Translate to. Actually, I'll translate, like, yeah, let's zero that out. Translate 1.1. Not bad. Let me undo this. I'll try this again. I'll just make a bunch of these things. Okay, so grab these guys, Control D, just to quickly offset by hand. That's okay. And then I'll Yeah, set that to 0, and then do the same offset but going the other direction. This will actually have to be 2.2 because I've got 2 rows now. You'll see what I'm doing in a second. All right, kind of a little brick stone pathway, right? So what's great about this sort of stuff, and I really, really love this, one of the problems in 3D is that things never are perfect in reality. I mean, the only time anything is kind of close to perfect when it comes to man-made objects is like the moment they come out of the factory. Even then, there's always slight imperfections depending on what's happening. So rotation, we could do random XYZ rotation, which gives you that, which is cool for a pile of rubble. But if you want something that feels real, that feels like lived in, usually I'll punch in like 3 degrees, and you can choose which axes you want to rotate on. But if we do XYZ, right, you take a look at that, it goes from perfectly flat, right, to, here, let me grab them all again, perfectly flat to, and you can keep hitting these, right, to get a little more randomness and chaos. So perfectly flat to Montreal quality construction, right? So I love, you know, I always want to find ways to maximize and speed up my work, and I find scripts, I'm not a programmer, I wish I was, but I leave it to the experts to kind of do that, and I'll test these scripts out to hopefully accelerate my work, right? And like I said, don't be afraid to try these out, just be careful. Once I tried a script on a student's machine, it was there to add a rim light to V-Ray materials, and we were using V-Ray at the time. Completely destroyed his Maya. That was it was a little specific. It gave a really funny error too. I think it was like pre-notato something or other. Like, I don't know what a pre-notato is, but it sounds like a bad potato. Or a tornado, yeah. But that was a very rare case. A lot of times, like I said, if it's a Mel script or even like a Python script, you can pretty much just grab them and delete them after, and you kind of go back to your default Maya setup. So most of the time, I would say like 99% of the time, these scripts are not dangerous. And most of the time, like I said, you're pretty much just loading them directly into the 2017 scripts folder, maybe the icons folder. If you don't like it, delete it. So I'll show you how I got that. I made a custom shelf inside Maya just to show you guys. So if you want to make a custom shelf, you can go to this little gear icon on the far left and go to New Shelf. I've already done this. I don't want to delete the shelf, but once you get in there, you can name it. So I've named this thing modeling, and I've got the circulator there. So the way I did that, if I switch over to Mel, so I had circulator, it's got a weird name. Yeah, circulator. So I'm just going to, again, be lazy, copy it. So instead of just like running the script directly out of here every time, you can select your script and go to File, Save Script to Shelf. Now I've already done this, but I'll do it again just to show you. File, Save Script to Shelf. I called it circ. You see it adds a button. Yeah, basically you just have to select your script and go File, Save Script to Shelf. And once it's there, if it does come with a custom icon, I'll usually right-click, go to Edit, right? Got a bunch of tabs here. You basically have to go to the Shelves section, and then under Icon Name, it kind of gives it a default icon, but if you click on the folder, you locate the custom button for it, or the custom icon. We say Open, right? Save all to Shelves, and that's it. If you don't like the button, right-click, delete, and it's gone. Now, I believe, if I was not mistaken, I think there's something similar for the Python one. It says, yeah, run the script in the Python tab of the script editor, or make a shelf button containing this. I think we can do the same thing with the Python script. So I'll try this here. I'll go to the script window. Let's go to Python, paste that in, and I believe if I do the same thing, File, Save, Script to Shelf, we'll call it random, or rando. Good old rando. I don't think this one came with a custom icon. No, it didn't actually. It was just a script. So if I click on this now, it'll launch it every time, right? So that's really, really useful, really handy. So again, I find, you know, even though Maya does have certain limitations, there's a lot of people out there who have figured out all sorts of ingenious ways of overcoming those limitations. There's one for make planar. I don't know if you guys, yeah, this one, I don't know if it's any good actually. I should double check it again, but make planar is great because what it allows you to do is kind of like align a selection to an axis or to an average of that selection. It's kind of like, so essentially if I were to maybe show you an example of what that sort of means, it's almost like, you know, having a sphere and then grabbing a selection, let's say like this, that's kind of all off on different angles, and being able to kind of like get it nice and flat depending on the axis that you want it to be flat on, right? So that sort of script is really, really useful in a lot of situations, right? Depending on what you're doing. Anyways, there's tons of them out there. My biggest piece of advice is explore, experiment, and don't forget to check the reviews, the version number. Again, stuff that's like pre-2016 right now is a little bit sketchy depending on the situation, so you'll have to check that out, and also check the last modified date as well.